George and all of the guys really that much more mellow now, and we value one another's friendship, you know.
Become softer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. In some ways, harder in others.
At 80 years old, Eric Clapton is no longer holding back about George Harrison and the emotional history they shared behind global fame. Now, Clapton is opening up about decisions, feelings, and experiences that remained private for decades. His reflections reveal a story of friendship tested by time, success, and deeply human emotions. As new details emerge, listeners are seeing their bond in a completely different way. Why did silence last so long? And what changed Clapton's heart today? Join us as we revisit a legendary friendship through truths finally spoken aloud. Eric Clapton at 80. At the age of 80, Eric Clapton's life and career stand as one of the most remarkable journeys in modern music. Born Eric Patrick Clapton on March 30th, 1945, in Ripley, Surrey, England, his early years were shaped by unusual family circumstances that left a lasting emotional imprint on him. During his childhood, he believed that his grandparents were his parents, while his mother was introduced to him as his sister. Learning the truth later created deep emotional confusion and sadness that stayed with him for many years. This early experience played an important role in shaping the emotional depth that would later become a defining feature of his music. From a very young age, Clapton developed a strong connection to music, especially the guitar. He spent countless hours listening to blues records and studying the sounds created by legendary American artists such as Robert Johnson, Muddy Waters, and B.B. King. These musicians became powerful influences on his musical direction. Their emotional playing styles and honest storytelling through sound deeply inspired him. As he practiced and improved, Clapton began to form an identity that blended the traditions of American blues with the energy and creativity of the growing British rock movement. This combination would later make him one of the most respected guitarists in the world. In the early 1960s, Clapton first gained public attention as a member of the Yardbirds, a band that played an important role in the British blues explosion. The group quickly gained popularity and commercial success. However, Clapton became uncomfortable when the band began moving away from traditional blues toward a more pop-oriented sound. His commitment to musical authenticity was stronger than his desire for fame. In 1965, he made the difficult decision to leave the Yardbirds because he believed they were abandoning the blues roots that mattered deeply to him. This decision showed his strong artistic principles and his willingness to follow his musical beliefs even when it meant stepping away from success. After leaving the Yardbirds, Clapton joined John Mayall and the Blues Breakers. This period became a turning point in his development as a guitarist. His performances with the band demonstrated extraordinary technical ability, emotional intensity, and precision. During this time, he earned the nickname Slowhand, a name that became closely associated with his identity as a musician. His reputation grew quickly, and many began to recognize him as one of the finest blues guitar players of his generation. The experience strengthened his confidence and helped refine his musical voice. In 1966, Clapton co-founded Cream alongside Jack Bruce and Ginger Baker. The trio quickly became one of the most influential bands in rock history. Cream pushed musical boundaries by combining heavy blues influences with improvisation and psychedelic experimentation. Their sound was powerful, creative, and unlike anything audiences had heard before. Songs such as Sunshine of Your Love and White Room highlighted Clapton's expressive guitar playing and showed his growth not only as a performer, but also as a creative artist, willing to explore new musical ideas. Although Cream achieved enormous success, internal tensions and creative disagreements caused the band to last only 2 years. Despite its short existence, Cream's impact was enormous and helped establish Clapton as a global rock star and a leading figure in the era often described as the rise of the guitar hero. After Cream disbanded, Clapton continued searching for new musical directions. he formed another group called Blind Faith with Steve Winwood, Ginger Baker, and Rick Gretsch. The band released only one album, yet it included memorable songs such as Can't Find My Way Home. Even though the project was brief, it reflected Clapton's constant desire to grow artistically and explore deeper emotional expression through music. He refused to remain comfortable or repeat past successes, choosing instead to experiment and evolve. During this period, Clapton also collaborated with Delaney and Bonnie, experiences that influenced his musical style and encouraged a more relaxed and soulful approach. Later, he formed Derek and the Dominoes, a band that would create one of rock music's most celebrated albums, Layla and Other Assorted Love Songs, released in 1970. The album carried strong emotional energy and musical intensity. The title track was inspired by Clapton's unreturned love for Pattie Boyd, who was married to his close friend George Harrison at the time. The song became one of the most recognized love songs in rock history, known for its powerful guitar work and emotional depth. This period revealed how personal feelings often shaped Clapton's music, allowing listeners to connect deeply with his work. Despite his musical achievements, Clapton's personal life faced serious struggles. During the 1970s, he battled addiction, followed later by alcoholism. These challenges affected both his personal well-being and professional stability. At times, his career seemed close to collapse. However, through determination and the support of friends, he gradually overcame these difficulties. His recovery became an important chapter in his life, showing resilience and strength. By speaking honestly about his struggles, he allowed fans to see a more human side of him. Behind the image of a celebrated guitarist was a person dealing with pain, mistakes, and the effort to rebuild his life. In the 1980s and the years that followed, Clapton entered a new phase marked by artistic reinvention and personal reflection. He continued creating music while adapting to changing musical trends, proving his ability to remain relevant across generations. However, this period also brought one of the greatest tragedies of his life. In 1991, his 4-year-old son, Connor, passed away in a devastating accident. The loss brought overwhelming grief and changed him deeply as both a person and an artist. Out of this heartbreak came the song Tears in Heaven, a deeply emotional piece that resonated with millions of listeners around the world. The song expressed sorrow, love, and remembrance in a gentle and sincere way. It became one of the most widely loved works of his career and connected strongly with people who had experienced loss themselves. Through this music, Clapton transformed personal pain into something meaningful that offered comfort to others. The song strengthened his legacy not only as a master guitarist, but also as a musician capable of expressing profound human emotion. Throughout his long career, Eric Clapton's journey has been defined by dedication to musical truth, emotional honesty, and constant growth. From his early fascination with blues music to his rise as an international rock icon, each stage of his life reflected a search for authenticity and deeper understanding. His willingness to follow his artistic instincts, even when faced with uncertainty, shaped a career filled with innovation and influence. His struggles with addiction revealed vulnerability, while his recovery showed resilience. His personal tragedies added emotional depth to his music, allowing audiences to feel genuine connection through his songs. Over decades, Clapton evolved from a young guitarist inspired by American blues into a global figure whose music crossed cultural and generational boundaries, friendship, and personal crossroads. Over many decades, Eric Clapton built a remarkable career shaped by collaboration, artistic curiosity, and emotional depth. His journey through music was never limited to a single sound or style. Instead, he worked alongside an extraordinary group of musicians whose influence helped shape both his artistry and his personal growth. Among those he collaborated with were George Harrison, Bob Dylan, J.J. Cale, and B.B. King. Each partnership brought new creative energy into his work and allowed him to explore different musical directions while still remaining true to his musical roots. Clapton's strength as an artist came from his ability to move naturally between musical genres. He did not confine himself to one category. He explored blues, rock, pop, and reggae with equal confidence, showing a rare flexibility that kept his music alive and meaningful across generations. His interpretation of Bob Marley's "I Shot the Sheriff" showed how easily he could step into a different musical world while still preserving his own identity as a guitarist and performer. This willingness to experiment ensured that his work stayed fresh and appealing to both longtime listeners and new audiences discovering his music for the first time. Even while exploring many styles, the blues remained the foundation of everything Clapton created. The emotional honesty and simplicity of blues music gave his performances a sense of authenticity that stood out clearly. No matter how far he traveled musically, this grounding allowed listeners to feel a deep connection to his sound. His playing carried emotion in a direct and natural way, giving each performance a sincerity that few musicians could achieve. Clapton's personal life developed closely alongside his musical career. The relationships he formed often influenced his creativity, shaping both his artistic expression and emotional experiences. One of the most important connections in his life began in the late 1960s, when he formed a close friendship with George Harrison of the Beatles. Their bond grew from shared respect and admiration for each other's musical abilities. What started as professional appreciation soon became a strong personal friendship built on trust and creative understanding. Through this friendship, Clapton became closely connected to Harrison's musical world. He contributed guitar work to Beatles recordings, including "While My Guitar Gently Weeps," and spent long periods working creatively with Harrison. They exchanged ideas, experimented with sounds, and encouraged each other to explore new artistic possibilities. Their collaborations pushed both musicians beyond familiar boundaries, strengthening their skills and expanding their musical vision. However, beneath this strong friendship, Clapton faced a deeply personal emotional struggle. During this period, he developed feelings for Harrison's wife, Pattie Boyd, an English model who had already inspired Harrison's well-known love song, "Something." Clapton's emotions toward Boyd became intense and complicated, creating inner conflict that affected both his personal life and his music. His feelings remained unreturned for a long time, which brought emotional pain and longing. This unfulfilled love became a powerful creative force for Clapton. The emotional tension he experienced inspired some of his most memorable music. Among these works was "Layla," a song that expressed his emotional turmoil and deep yearning. Through music, he found a way to express emotions that were difficult to confront directly in his personal life. His songwriting during this period reflected vulnerability and emotional honesty, showing how closely his personal experiences were tied to his artistic output. As time passed, circumstances changed. The marriage between George Harrison and Pattie Boyd eventually began to fall apart. Their relationship ended in divorce in 1977, marking a turning point for everyone involved. After years of emotional complexity and unresolved feelings, Boyd and Clapton were finally free to pursue a relationship openly. On the 27th of March, 1979, in Tucson, Arizona, Clapton and Boyd were married. For many observers, the wedding appeared to bring closure to a long and complicated emotional story that had captured public attention for years. For Clapton personally, the marriage represented both relief and hope. After enduring struggles with addiction and emotional hardship connected to his feelings for Boyd, he entered this new chapter believing it would offer stability and happiness. Despite this hopeful beginning, married life brought serious challenges. Clapton and Boyd shared a strong desire to build a family together, but their efforts were met with repeated heartbreak. They experienced multiple miscarriages, each loss bringing emotional pain and disappointment. Their hope for children remained strong, leading them to seek medical assistance in their attempts to become parents. In 1984, they turned to in vitro fertilization, which at that time was still a developing and emotionally demanding medical procedure. The process required patience, emotional strength, and optimism. Unfortunately, these attempts did not succeed. The continued disappointments placed increasing emotional strain on both individuals and began to affect the stability of their marriage. The weight of unrealized dreams created sadness and tension that proved difficult to overcome. During this period of emotional difficulty, Clapton made personal decisions that would deeply impact his life and relationships. He entered into an affair with Italian model and actress Lori Del Santo. This relationship introduced a new and unexpected development into his personal story. From this affair, a child was born, bringing both joy and complication into Clapton's life. On the 21st of August, 1986, his son, Connor Clapton, was born. The child became a source of happiness and emotional connection for Clapton during a time when many aspects of his life felt uncertain. The arrival of his son offered a sense of fulfillment that contrasted sharply with the struggles he had faced in his marriage. However, the birth of Connor also carried painful consequences. When Patty Boyd learned about the affair and the existence of Clapton's child, she experienced deep emotional hurt. The revelation created a level of betrayal that the marriage could not withstand. The trust between them had been broken, and the emotional damage proved too significant to repair. As a result, their relationship came to an end. The marriage collapsed under the pressure of disappointment, heartbreak, and unresolved conflict. What had once appeared to be a hopeful new beginning ultimately concluded with separation, marking another turning point in Clapton's personal journey, a life of loss and lasting bonds. By the year 1989, the marriage between Eric Clapton and Patty Boyd had come to an end. Their divorce closed a chapter that had once captured wide public attention and had been seen as the fulfillment of one of rock music's most talked-about love stories. What began with deep admiration and emotional intensity eventually reached a quiet conclusion, marking a turning point in Clapton's personal life. The separation represented not only the end of a relationship, but also the closing of a period shaped by passion, creativity, and emotional complexity. Soon after this difficult transition, tragedy struck in a way that changed Clapton's life forever. On the 20th day of March in 1991, his young son, Connor Clapton, passed away in a devastating accident in New York City. At only 4 years old, Connor fell from an open bedroom window on the 53rd floor of a Manhattan apartment building. The sudden loss created an overwhelming wave of grief that deeply affected Clapton both personally and emotionally. The tragedy was shocking and unimaginable, leaving him facing a sorrow that words could not easily express. This heartbreaking moment became one of the most defining experiences of his life. The loss reshaped his outlook, influencing how he viewed family, fame, and the meaning of life itself. Music, which had always been central to his identity, became a place where he could process emotions that felt too heavy to carry alone. Through creativity, he found a way to express pain while searching for comfort and understanding. Out of this profound grief came one of the most meaningful works of his career, the song "Tears in Heaven." The ballad reflected the sorrow of a father mourning his child, while also expressing a gentle sense of hope and longing for reunion beyond life. Its emotional honesty connected with listeners around the world. Many people found their own feelings reflected in the music, allowing the song to become a shared expression of loss and healing. Over time, it grew into one of Clapton's most recognized and enduring works, touching millions who had experienced grief in their own lives. Years passed, and after enduring emotional hardship and personal reflection, Clapton slowly moved toward a calmer stage of life. In 1998, at the age of 53, he met Melia McInerney during a gathering held in Columbus, Ohio, following one of his performances. McInerney, then 22 years old and working as an administrative assistant, entered his life quietly. Their connection developed gradually and privately, without the intense public attention that had surrounded his earlier relationships. For about a year, the couple kept their relationship away from public focus. This careful beginning allowed their bond to grow naturally. When they eventually made their relationship public in 1999, it reflected a partnership built on calm understanding rather than drama. Unlike earlier periods marked by public scrutiny and emotional turbulence, this relationship brought a sense of stability and peace into Clapton's life. On the first day of January in 2002, Clapton and McInerney were married in a modest ceremony at St. Mary Magdalene Church, located in Ripley, the village where Clapton had been born. Choosing this location connected his new beginning with his earliest roots, symbolizing continuity between past and present. The ceremony was simple and meaningful, reflecting the quieter direction his life had taken. Together, they built the family life Clapton had long desired. The couple raised 3 daughters, whose presence brought joy, balance, and grounding after years marked by emotional highs and painful losses. Family life introduced a sense of calm rhythm, offering him stability after decades filled with constant change. Fatherhood again became an important part of his identity, now shaped by experience, maturity, and reflection. By the age of 80, Clapton's life stood as one filled with remarkable achievements alongside deep personal struggles. His journey included artistic success, emotional hardship, enduring friendships, and personal reinvention. Few musicians experienced such a wide range of triumph and sorrow while continuing to evolve both creatively and personally. Among the most fascinating relationships in his story was his long connection with George Harrison of the Beatles. Their bond remained a subject of curiosity for fans and writers for many years. Observers often wondered about the balance between friendship and rivalry, especially because of the complicated history involving Harrison's wife, Pattie Boyd. The connection between the two musicians combined admiration, emotional complexity, and artistic respect. In later years, Clapton spoke more openly about this relationship, reflecting on its depth and importance. He described Harrison as more than a fellow musician whose career occasionally crossed paths with his own. Their friendship carried a sense of brotherhood, shaped by shared experiences within the world of music. At the same time, there existed an unspoken competition between them, something natural between two highly skilled guitarists who constantly pushed artistic boundaries. Both musicians possessed extraordinary ability, yet their styles differed greatly. Clapton's playing was intense, passionate, and deeply rooted in blues traditions. Harrison's approach leaned toward melody, subtle expression, and spiritual influence. These contrasts did not weaken their bond. Instead, they created balance, allowing each musician to admire qualities the other possessed. Their mutual respect showed itself during private musical moments, especially late-night jam sessions at Harrison's home. During these gatherings, they explored ideas freely, exchanged musical phrases, and encouraged one another's growth. These sessions reflected friendship built through creativity, where music served as a shared language stronger than competition. Yet even with challenges, the connection endured across decades, supported by admiration and shared understanding of life as artists navigating fame, expectation, and personal change. As Clapton reflected on his past in later life, he revealed perspectives shaped by time and maturity. Experiences that once carried confusion or emotional weight became clearer through reflection. The friendships, losses, and relationships that defined his journey formed a larger picture of growth. Rather than focusing only on success or hardship, his story became one of endurance and transformation. His life illustrates how personal pain and artistic expression can become deeply connected. Moments of sorrow influenced creativity, while music provided a path toward healing. Relationships brought both joy and challenge, shaping his emotional world and influencing the direction of his career. Over decades, he moved from turbulence toward stability, finding peace in family life and reflection. The later chapters of Clapton's life show a man shaped by experience, yet still connected to the passions that first defined him. Love, loss, friendship, and music remained central themes, each leaving a lasting mark on who he became. Through tragedy, renewal, and enduring bonds, his journey reflects the complexity of a life lived fully, marked by resilience and emotional depth. In the end, the story of Eric Clapton's later years is not defined by a single moment, but by a series of transformations: the end of one marriage, the unbearable loss of a child, the healing power of music, the discovery of lasting companionship, and the enduring friendship with George Harrison all formed parts of a continuous path toward understanding and peace. His life stands as a reminder that even through hardship, growth and renewal remain possible, and that creativity can carry human emotion across generations. A friendship beyond fame. The relationship between Eric Clapton and George Harrison remains one of the most complex and meaningful connections in modern music history. Their bond was shaped by admiration, emotional struggle, forgiveness, and deep mutual respect. Over time, their friendship endured moments that could easily have ended any relationship, yet it grew stronger through understanding and shared passion for music. One of the most difficult periods in their lives began when Clapton developed strong feelings for Pattie Boyd, who was Harrison's wife at the time. Within music circles, this situation became widely known, creating emotional tension that placed immense pressure on both men. The circumstances were deeply personal and painful, and the emotional weight of the situation could have destroyed their connection completely. Instead, it became a turning point that revealed the unusual strength of their friendship. Clapton expressed his emotions through music rather than confrontation. His longing and inner conflict found an outlet in songwriting, leading to the creation of deeply emotional work, including the famous song Layla. The music captured feelings of desire, heartbreak, and vulnerability, allowing personal struggle to transform into artistic expression. Through creativity, emotional pain became something meaningful and lasting, resonating with listeners around the world. Despite the hurt caused by the situation, Harrison chose not to permanently distance himself from Clapton. The emotional impact was real, yet Harrison's character was defined by patience and generosity. Forgiveness became a defining feature of their relationship. Rather than allowing resentment to dominate their lives, both men gradually rebuilt trust through shared experiences and continued collaboration. Even after Boyd eventually left Harrison and later married Clapton, the friendship between the two musicians did not disappear. They continued to perform together publicly, standing side by side on stage in a way that surprised many observers. To outsiders, such harmony seemed unlikely given their history. However, for them, music served as a powerful connection that allowed healing to take place naturally. Performing together became a reminder that artistic unity could exist even after personal conflict. As the years passed, their bond matured into something quieter and deeper. Competition, jealousy, and emotional tension slowly faded, replaced by mutual appreciation and calm understanding. Music remained the central force that connected them, providing a shared language stronger than personal disagreements. This quiet strength became especially clear later in life, when Harrison faced serious illness. During this period, Clapton made consistent efforts to visit him. Their time together did not depend on long conversations or dramatic moments. Simple companionship became enough. Sitting together in silence reflected the depth of their connection, showing that true friendship does not always require words. Presence alone carried meaning. Harrison's passing in 2001 marked a deeply painful moment for Clapton. The loss affected him profoundly, highlighting how important the friendship had been throughout his life. In response, Clapton organized a concert for George the following year as a tribute celebrating Harrison's life, music, and influence. The event combined performances, remembrance, and shared appreciation, honoring not only Harrison's artistic legacy, but also the spirit of kindness he represented. For Clapton, the concert became one of the most meaningful achievements of his career, symbolizing gratitude and respect for a friend who had shaped him deeply. Looking back over decades of collaboration, Clapton recognized that Harrison's approach to music left a lasting impression on him. Harrison focused on creating beauty rather than proving superiority. This philosophy influenced Clapton's understanding of music itself, shifting attention away from competition and toward emotional expression and connection. The lesson remained with him long after their performances together had ended. With age came reflection. At 80 years old, Clapton spoke about Harrison with warmth and sincerity, showing how enduring the friendship remained in his heart. Earlier complexities, including rivalry, fame, and romantic complications, no longer defined their story. What remained was a simple truth, rooted in loyalty and shared history. Harrison continued to hold a permanent place in Clapton's life as one of his greatest friends. Alongside the emotional challenges of relationships, Clapton also faced serious personal struggles throughout his early career. Despite extraordinary musical success, his life during the 1970s was overshadowed by addiction. Illegal substances and alcohol became powerful influences that threatened both his health and his ability to continue creating music. The lifestyle surrounding fame intensified these difficulties, placing his talent at risk. A major turning point arrived in 1982, when Clapton made the decision to step away from alcohol and recreational illegal substances. This change did not happen quickly or easily. Recovery required effort, patience, and determination over a long period. The process involved confronting personal weaknesses and rebuilding stability step by step. Choosing sobriety marked one of the most important decisions of his life, reshaping both his personal well-being and his artistic future. Sobriety brought clarity that allowed him to reconnect with music in a healthier way. Freed from the destructive patterns that had once controlled him, Clapton regained focus and emotional balance. This transformation enabled him to continue producing music that connected deeply with audiences around the world. His recovery demonstrated resilience and the possibility of renewal even after years of struggle. Although he overcame alcohol and addiction, another challenge remained. Clapton had been a heavy cigarette smoker for decades, and nicotine addiction proved difficult to leave behind. The habit persisted long after other substances had been removed from his life. Finally, in 1994, more than 10 years after achieving sobriety from illegal substances and alcohol, he stopped smoking entirely. This final step represented the closing of another chapter tied to his past. The journey away from addiction revealed a different side of a musician, often seen only as a legendary performer. Beneath the public image was a person facing vulnerability, setbacks, and personal battles. His determination to change showed strength rooted not in fame, but in personal responsibility and the desire for a healthier life. Clapton's path toward recovery was not simply about abandoning harmful habits. It represented a broader transformation built on discipline, reflection, and perseverance. Each decision to move forward strengthened his ability to continue creating meaningful music while maintaining personal stability. The process illustrated how survival and creativity can become connected, with personal healing opening the door to artistic renewal. Taken together, the story of Clapton's friendship with Harrison and his personal recovery forms a powerful portrait of growth. Forgiveness allowed a complicated relationship to endure, while self-discipline allowed a troubled artist to rebuild his life. Music served as the constant thread linking every stage of this journey, acting as both refuge and expression. What do you think about this friendship? Share your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Before you go, be sure to click on the video shown on your screen.